There is a difference between how literary types use the word rumination and the way psychologists do. The dictionary defines ruminate as think deeply about something, and ordinary usage often reflects that. There is even a literary periodical called Ruminate. There is nothing sinister about it. It is a quarterly magazine of short stories, poetry, creative nonfiction, and visual art. The psychological definition, on the other hand, centers around focusing attention compulsively on the symptoms of one's distress and its possible causes and consequences instead of its solutions. How did this word get to have such a negative connotation in psychology? A cow does not ruminate selectively and only burp up thorns. A regular, run-of-the-mill mind also ruminates about all sorts of things. A cow needs to digest its food more than once, and we seem to have the same need for our thoughts. Perhaps psychologists have mostly seen the negative side of rumination as they have focused on treating mental illnesses, for it is rumination in the psychological sense that creates problems. If you want to know where your heart is, look where your mind goes when it wanders. Following thoughts to see where they are leading can be a good way to get acquainted with the biases, preoccupations, and the programming of our brains, but it is only a first step. When we are driving, we do not just go where the car takes us. We have a notion of where we want to go. If we are not familiar with the surroundings, we look in a map or check with Google Maps to see that we are indeed heading in the right direction. If necessary, we change course. U-turns are not that rare in unfamiliar territory. We do not have to go where the brain wants to take us either. We can also change the direction of our lives. We can also make U-turns on the road of life. The brain may appear to have very definite preferences and be set in its ways, but it is possible to talk back to it. Brain scientists assure us that the brain is plastic and can be molded to our purposes. Do you have a map? Do you know where you want to go? As we mature, our roadmap also changes. Remember that there was a time when your mind went to Barbie dolls or toy cars when it wandered. The brain may feel like a tyrant, but when you assert yourself, you may find that it can also be accommodating. The saying, if you want to know where your heart is, look where your mind goes when it wanders, describes a bottom-up process, useful for becoming aware of what is actually happening now. Let us revise it in a more proactive way. Make sure that your heart is in the right place. Then, when your mind wanders, it will go where you want it to go. Follow your bliss. You may remember the popular Bill Moyers interviews with Joseph Campbell on PBS that popularized that saying. But how do we follow our bliss? By eating tons of chocolate ice cream? By sitting in front of the TV and watching sports all day? By zoning out with prescription painkillers? Those activities may represent the bliss of the brain, but following the road signs for brain heaven may actually lead to mind hell. When Joseph Campbell came out with that popular teaching, he was inspired by Indian spirituality, where bliss, or ananda, is promoted as a desirable quality. Ananda is a lovely word and has also become an attractive offbeat name in the West. However, in the Indian context, it is often an abbreviation for Sat Chit Ananda, which means something like the bliss of pure consciousness. In other words, the bliss of a mind that has been trained and purified by meditation and not your regular chocolate-craving brain. Positive rumination. Rumination control is one of the purposes of meditation. Here I am using meditation in the larger sense to stand for spiritual practice. The Hare Krishnas, who used to be a fixture on our downtown streets some time ago, were practicing a form of positive rumination. Mantra chanting is a form of positive rumination. There are also echoes of it in the Ave Marias chanted with prayer beads by